Hey gang, you ready to make a terrarium? We're gonna have some fun today. So if you've picked up a kit, first of all, this is what we're gonna be making. It's adorable. And your kit will have come to you with everything you need in it. So let's just go through that because I wanna make sure if for any reason you don't have in your kit what you need, please give us a holler. All right, so first things first, you've got the jar. You also have, and I'll kind of go in order here, you have gravel for the bottom. Then you have a bag of charcoal for on top of the gravel. And then you have your soil mix. This is just regular potting soil, which is great for retaining moisture, which is kind of what we want in the terrarium. That gets you up to the planting and decorating level. So you've got a couple of slate type stones. This is what is kind of cool to create a bit of a retaining wall within your terrarium so that you can get some height in there, some leveling. So I gave you a couple of those to use to scoop up and make a little retaining wall. And then you've got your plants. There were, not everyone got the exact same two plants, but there are two terrarium style ferns for you. And then you also got some top dressing rock to do with what you'd like to decorate the top. Maybe you want a little path, I had white in front and a darker one in the back, so I've given you some options. And then I also threw in kind of just a fun little gemstone in there. Also in your box, you will have a little piece of paper that is good for 15% off in the store on anything that isn't already marked down. So if you took a workshop here with us, we would have given you that and encouraged you to go shopping. So I'm giving that to you, and I've taken out today only so that it's good whenever. You get to make your own sale. Also, as part of your kit in your workshop, we were giving you a $5 voucher good towards an accessory so that you could have gone in the shop and maybe picked out a little miniature of some kind to stick in there. And since we're not all here together today, I've gone ahead and sent you home with a voucher good for $5 store credit, which you can then even use your 15% off on if you want when you're able to come back into the store. Okay, so that's going to get you all started. Let's go ahead and have some fun. So you know terrariums have been around for a really, really long time. Originally they were called Wardian cases, named after a guy named Nathaniel Ward, who was a botanist in Victorian England, and he found that when he put the samples of his plants in glass jars to keep them organized, that they actually thrived in that environment. So he started building bigger glass boxes. The original terrariums were called Wardian cases, and that actually changed a lot of things. The tea industry, tea leaves used to only be grown in China, and there were people who wanted to, when the British were colonizing India, they wanted to try and grow tea leaves there, and they couldn't because every time they tried to transport the plants from China on the long road, they would die. So finally someone used the Wardian cases to stick the tea plants in to transport them from China to India, where the colonists could set up these farms and grow tea leaves. And now, instead of it being a drink for only the wealthiest people because it was so expensive coming in from China, it became the tea of the masses. And to this day, of course, the British are still drinking lots of tea. So something as small as learning that plants live in glass jars really well changed everything. Isn't that true about life? Okay, so here we go. First thing you're going to do in a terrarium, in a closed terrarium, is set up room for excess water to go. And we're going to do that by adding in the gravel that I've given you. So just go ahead and add all that gravel down into the jar. What we're doing here is making sure that if you overwater, there's a place for that water to go hang out without keeping the soil wet. So that's just going to give you a nice solid area of rock in there. And the next important part about a terrarium is that you want to keep the water that goes in there from getting mildewy and smelly. So the addition of charcoal is a really good thing. So we're going to add this garden activated charcoal. When I was making this yesterday, your kits yesterday, my hands smelled like campfire. So smell that, it smells great. So you're going to sprinkle the charcoal on top. It is dirty stuff, so just go ahead and push that around on top there. Now, the purpose of that is, think about your Brita water filter or even odor eaters. The original odor eaters that went in your shoes probably had charcoal in them because it's a wonderful medium for reducing odor and purifying. So that's what that's for. The next thing you're going to do now is just add your potting soil mix in. You're not going to need it all. I wanted to give you more than enough, but let's start about halfway up the jar. That's a great place to start. All right, that's the base structure. Now you get to have fun. So what I would suggest, or what I did, this is totally up to you now how you design, okay? But what you can do is take one of your rocks and maybe make a little, stick it up so that now you can backfill soil behind that and get some height in there. Okay. So what I did with my terrarium is I put my plants up at the top. You can put them anywhere. And I illuminated the front of the terrarium with a lighter colored rock so that you could kind of see into it and be pulled through it. And I made like a little pathway going up. So again, you can use your little rocks that you find in your kit to do different things. Maybe we'll have a little path going up one side and have more rocks over on this side. Okay? All right. The plants that we chose are all moisture-loving plants because it's going to get hot and humid in here. So we chose different little plants to use in here. You don't want to use succulents in a closed terrarium. We love to use succulents in our open terrariums, but we're not going to do that in this because the plants that live in here need to like moisture, all right? So I'm going to take a little of the soil off and I'm going to just make a little hole where I want to put this and get that planted in there. Oh, it's looking fabulous already. For those of you that haven't transplanted before, I didn't mean to skip past that. Sometimes it's a good idea to squeeze the pot, loosen up the soil, and then let gravity do its work rather than pulling a plant out of the pot. Tip it upside down, and you can pull the pot off rather than pulling the plant out. And that way you don't, you reduce the risk of damaging any of the plant's leaves. And all I'm doing is massaging some of the excess soil off, and I'm going to decide where I want to put this one. I think I'm going to go over there. Okay. And now you get to decorate. So maybe you can, we'll use a little bit, let's go the other way around on this one. We'll use, no, I don't like what I did the first time. I think I'm going to do it again. We're just going to add a little of the white in there. That kind of brightens it up, draws you to the green. And just for fun, I am going to add in a couple of the little brown, no, you know what, let's do, I'm going to reach off here, and just to make mine different, I'm going to throw a little blue in there for sparkle. Sorry, you don't have blue. You have brown, which is what I used over here. Okay. And then it would be really fun to get maybe a little minimal, a little turtle, a little something, a little gemstone tucked in there. All right. I want you to spend way more time doing this. Find the zen in it. Have fun. Relax. Work your layers in. Enjoy every moment of it. Let's talk about care. I don't know if you can see on this terrarium that I've had for a long time. It's also a really good visual to see the different layers. I did gravel at the bottom, then I had the charcoal, and then just for fun, I added in some colored rock just to have that interest down below the soil line, and then the soil, and then my plants. What I want to show you here is how wet it is, the condensation on the inside of the lid is important to note. When you first plant a terrarium and you stick the lid on and there was moisture in the soil, you're going to get some moisture come up, condensing up on the underside of the lid. So for the first couple of days of your terrarium, I want you to close it at night, and when you come in the morning, if it's foggy, I want you just to open it up a little bit and let it breathe. There comes a time when finally that balance is reached and you're not having to take the lid on and off every day, but what you don't want is to rot everything out. It has to get just to the right balance, and the way to find the balance is to look at it every day. This is fine, there's no serious condensation on the sides that you can't see in, but I wanted to show you that there is moisture in there. And if I had just watered and then I come in and I see that there's too much fog in there and too much moisture, I just open the jar a little bit and let it find a balance for a couple of hours or the rest of the day, and then put the lid back on. You will have to water occasionally. I think we've been watering this one that's been living in the store maybe every couple of weeks, just adding a little bit of moisture into the soil. And every time we do that, we again watch the balance. Okay, so really that's it in a nutshell, or in a glass jar, as they say. If you have any questions, please reach out and give us a call. I'd love to see your pictures as you're building this and share it with us, so we can pretend that we were all together doing this amongst one another. Thank you so much for your support of The Secret Garden, and I look forward to seeing you in the store soon. Thanks. Bye.